probably about 2 years after I officially moved into training, I realized that I made a big jump, but my life was just still not the way I really desired it to be. And
Okay.
so long before Taylor Swift had the song Anti-Hero, um, the one that says it's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. I
Mhm.
finally said, hey, everything in my life is not lining up the way I really desire it to be, from friendships
Mhm.
to partnerships to career. Feeling like I made the jump and now I'm not able to get promoted. And so I said, it's me. I'm the problem and I'm the only one that I can do something about. I'm the common thread in all of these situations. So that really put me on the path of doing a lot of personal and professional growth, from seminars to workshops to therapy as well. And I realized that something that I was struggling with and had been struggling with for a long time was anxiety, but I wasn't able to put that
Okay.
label to it or make
Yeah.
that connection.
Mhm.
Hi there, and welcome to the HR podcast. This is Linda Misagatas
and Cindy Manuel, and we'll be your co-hosts. After spending years working in and with HR, we thought, why not start a podcast to support the important HR community? We believe the way things have always been done isn't necessarily what's going to work in the future. So we're diving into topics that support HR and working women as they navigate the future of work. We're talking about professional growth and also how we can support each other as human beings.
We can't wait to bring you insights from HR experts, thought leaders, and inspiring women who are making a real difference in their organization and communities. They'll share their journeys and tips on balancing work and life in a better way. We're excited to learn alongside you and hope you'll pick up some great takeaways, from tips and tricks to worksheets that you can actually use in your daily life. So grab your favorite beverage
or lace up your walking shoes and join us for the Her Resources podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Her Resources podcast. I'm excited to be back in the studio with my incredible co-host, Cindy Manuel. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a Friday, so I'm doing really well.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I have to tell you, it has been a long week. I am ready for it to be over. So
Yeah, I see Joni nodding her head too.
yes.
Long week
But
all around. Yes.
oh, I know. But it is always I always get so inspired by our podcast. So that's
Great.
always fun, for sure. And today's episode is a powerful one. We're talking about becoming your authentic self with someone who has actually spent her life empowering others to lead with courage, clarity, and deep personal purpose. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest today, Joni D. Goodman, who is the founder and chief breakthrough officer at JDGAdvisors. With more than 25 years of experience in leadership development, executive coaching, and experiential, couldn't read my own writing, experiential facilitation, Joni is a trusted partner to organizations seeking real growth. Her career includes delivering nationally recognized programs and designing transformational learning experiences that move leaders and teams towards clarity, confidence, and connection. Joni was personally selected and trained by Dr. Brené Brown in the Dare to Lead methodology. One of my favorite people. I got to see her live, and holy cow, is she amazing. Um, and brings that courage-based leadership philosophy into her signature work today. She is the author of the new book, interactive keynote, and workshop, Rappel, Breakthrough to a Better You. I love it. And the creator of Encounter You, her flagship program for women leaders. She holds a certificate in women-centered coaching, a professional coaching program specializing in empowering self-actualizing women one-to-one. She is also a woman-certified professional facilitator, leading extraordinary workshops, women's circles, retreats, and more. She's a recognized leader in her field. Joni was named a 2023 Women on the Move honoree by Texas Executive Women and received ATD Houston's Community Impact Award. She is a former president of ATD Houston, a national advisor for chapters, and an active contributor to the ATD global community. So join me in welcoming Joni. Nice to see you.
Thank
Wowza.
you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
That's
Holy
quite the
cow.
bio. Yeah, that's
Yes,
quite the
yes.
bio. I love
Totally
Chief
agree.
Breakthrough Officer. What a cool title.
Yeah,
Love
thank
That
you.
is a good one. How'd you come
Love
up
it.
with that? What made you like? We have another amazing leader that we love, Kristen Sadler, and she is CEO and what does she call herself? Now I'm going to forget. I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Man, Cindy, warrior. She's like the chief warrior.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
love that
yeah. It's
too.
just I love it. Change warrior, I think is what
Mm,
it is.
yes.
And
But
she is.
how'd you come up with that, Joni? What
Yeah.
chief break? Love it.
So, I rebranded my company a few years ago. When I started my company in 2016, it was Joni D Goodman LLC. I'm originally from Indiana. I had relocated to Houston, Texas in 2013, fourth largest city in the United States. I'm from a small town, so was really trying to get my name out there. So when I rebranded to JDGAdvisors, I really took a look at what I wanted my mission, vision, and values to be for my company. And that morphed my tagline into breakthrough to a better you. And so,
Love
alas, the
that.
chief breakthrough officer.
Yeah, that is
Love that.
great. I love that for sure. Well, can you talk a little bit about your own leadership journey and kind of what led you to do this work on authenticity and breakthrough?
Absolutely. So, I am a biochemist by trade. Um,
Oh my goodness.
so, by way of a circuitous route, did I find my way into what I'm doing now? Accidental entrepreneur, trainer, coach, facilitator, that sort of thing. So, what I realized is, though I'm degreed in biochemistry, I was interested in that work. But what I discovered my passion was truly working with people. And how that kind of
Mm,
happened was twofold. In my undergrad, I was doing research for a medical school professor. And anytime you do research, they want you to talk about it, right? So
sure.
I was giving lots of presentations and I had the initial fears of public speaking that most of us do. And then I
Mhm.
realized that I quite enjoy this. And so that's what I thought I was going to do. And when I graduated, there weren't any opportunities available in research. So I took what I considered to be a foot in the door opportunity with a medical device company doing technical support in a call center. So I was
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
interacting with diabetes patients for 8 to 10 hours a
Oh
day.
God.
And
Ah,
they had a very robust
heartbreaking.
training program that was 6 weeks in length for good reason, because we were not medical professionals, but we were talking about medical devices. So there was a fine line of what we could
Mhm.
say and what we couldn't say. So I found the training program very fascinating. And then when I graduated from it, I got involved in supporting it. And then that position that I was hoping for initially upon graduation opened up in the lab. So I'm like, okay, I'm going back to R&D. And when I got there, I was like, wow, the environment is starkly different for obvious reasons from call center to a lab. But what was really different for me was I went from interacting with people all the time to very isolated people interaction. And so
Okay.
I was continuing to look for those opportunities the 4 years that I spent there. I led our employee commitment team. I was voluntold to speak on behalf of the lab most times. I onboarded our summer interns. I led our onboarding program. And then that same call center that I started my career with, they merged with an insulin pump company and they needed someone to come over and run the call center from a training standpoint. And I'm like, I'm your girl. Like, this is what I want to do. So
Yeah.
I interviewed and got the job, and that was back in 2004. And I've basically been doing some form of training, coaching, leadership facilitation ever since. And when I relocated to Houston, I really had the entrepreneurial spirit. I honored the entrepreneurial spirit that I always had. And that's what led me to starting my company. But really, the authenticity piece of things on that
Mhm.
journey from what I just shared until where I am today, it was not a smooth sailing. There were a lot of twists and turns and peaks and valleys and ups and downs. And it was probably about 2 years after I officially moved into training, I realized that I made a big jump, but my life was just still not the way I really desired it to be. And
Okay.
so long before Taylor Swift had the song Anti-Hero, um, the one that says it's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. I finally said, hey, everything in my life is not lining up the way I really desire it to be, from friendships to partnerships to career. Feeling like I made the jump and now I'm not able to get promoted. And so I said, it's me. I'm the problem, and I'm the only one that I can do something about. I'm the common thread in all of these situations. So that really put me on the path of doing a lot of personal and professional growth, from seminars to workshops to therapy as well. And I realized that something that I was struggling with and had been struggling with for a long time was anxiety, but I wasn't able to put that
Okay.
label to it or make
Yeah.
that connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to me what you're doing now as a calling. I would call it a calling, really,
Yes.
because
Absolutely.
everything that you just described really did lead you to where you are today. And so you understand the journey that so many of us have been on, which is why you probably are such an amazing coach, particularly for women. So, that kind of takes me to your book then, Rappel, Breakthrough to a Better You. What inspired you to write that book? And, in your book, you talk about a movement, and what does that really mean?
Yeah. So the inspiration behind that was I realized that despite the fact that, I had this anxiety, I could choose to, let the anxiety run my life as it had been, or I could take over and take the lead and manage it. So I, moved to Houston, which was a huge, huge breakthrough for me, because someone who struggled with anxiety, moving to a city, fourth largest city in the United States, when I come from
Right.
dot of like 3,000 people, and I did not know one single person when I moved here.
Wow.
So I realized that a source of the anxiety, at least in my family of origin, was my grandfather was a World War II Army veteran. And at the time when he came home, he had undiagnosed PTSD, but that's what he was struggling with. And
Oh, sure.
so my give back was to work with veterans, because I knew
Love
that
that.
Mhm.
from internal family systems and epigenetics, that when I heal myself, I heal 7 generations before me and 7 generations after me. So I got involved with an
Sure.
organization called Impact to Hero, and a fundraiser they were doing was called Over the Edge. And you had to raise at least
Okay.
$1,000 to rappel off of a building, which
Wow.
seems like crazy. So, the money came in, and then it was 1,000, and then it was 1,100, then it was 1,200, and it was like, okay, I'm
Cool.
doing this. So, that was another breakthrough experience for me, because I realized upon moving to Houston also the progress I had made, but this was 2021, the progress that I had made on being able to manage my anxiety and to allow breakthroughs. And so when I actually did the Rappel, that's really how the Rappel framework, which is a 5-step framework, came to be. From that, and being able to reflect and being able to relate and being able to reason with myself, to recognize and then rejoice and celebrate also the things
Yeah.
that were happening. So that's really what led to the title being Rappel. But as far as
Yeah.
the content in the book, it's a series of 52 breakthroughs that are a result of breakthroughs that happened in my life, a few of which I've shared.
Mhm.
And so my goal is each one of the breakthroughs has a section called Break Thoughts for you to complete and to be able to arrive at your breakthrough. And then the Rappel framework is where the sustainability comes in, that a breakthrough is not
Mhm.
something that just happens once in your life. It happens over and over
Right.
and many times. And we need to allow ourselves to have those moments. but many times they're not easy.
That is
The best
true.
ones are the ones
Absolutely.
that are the most difficult, I would
Yes.
say.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the Delta Principle, we are transforming the way you experience change. Have you ever experienced an organizational change where your employees pushed back because it was too much, too fast, or they just didn't understand why they couldn't do things the way they've always done them? What about where communication was non-existent or unorganized, with important updates getting lost in the shuffle, leaving people confused? And have you ever experienced change where morale was at an all-time low because the change felt overwhelming and not aligned with your organization's culture? If you are being asked to lead an important organizational change, especially if you're new to leading change, or if you're just feeling overwhelmed, the Delta Principle is here to support you. We work closely with you as a trusted partner, co-creating real-world solutions to address your unique challenges, and we equip you and your organization for future success. Are you gearing up for your next transformation journey or exploring ways to strengthen your change management skills? Then let's connect. This year, we're thrilled to introduce Leading Change, a training designed for leaders driving organizational initiatives, and Navigating Change, a training tailored to empower teams and adapting to change with confidence. Our coaching and training sessions are fully customizable to meet your organization's unique needs. Reach out today to see how we can partner with you to make your next change a success. You can find us on LinkedIn or by emailing us at info@thedeltaprinciple.com.
No, so true. Well, and a few things that you said that really makes me think about, I wonder how many women, I relate with what you talked about on the anxiety side of it, because very similarly, I didn't know that I had anxiety either. I just, I didn't make the connection of what that was because it seemed like anxiety. That just seemed like there was something wrong with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I couldn't relate with the idea of, well, I don't have that. But clearly that's exactly what it was. And I wonder how many of us really do struggle with anxiety that we don't realize, and that's impacting our ability to move forward. And the other thing I think what I really love is that what you said about is really kind of looking inward to yourself as well, is to identify that no one else is going to solve any of this for you. And I think too often we find ourselves sitting and waiting for someone to open the door, or someone to offer the opportunity, or for someone to maybe even tell us what's wrong and how we can fix it, without really taking ownership of that ourselves. And so, one, I commend you for doing that. But two, how do you guide other women on that journey? Like, what advice do you give them to kind of be brave enough to take those steps?
Yeah, well, I think a key piece that I left out of the previous conversation is, besides the fact of me taking a look at my life and realizing things weren't going the way that I thought they would go or desired them to go, something that I was doing was helping other people to solve their problems,
Mm,
because it was a
That's
brilliant
powerful.
way for me to, or not so brilliant, but it was a clever way for me to not work on myself, because I
yeah,
didn't have
great point.
any energy left to do that. And it was a great way to deflect that. And then all of a sudden I found that I had a giant Santa Claus bag, not of everybody else's presents, but their lumps of coal that I took
Yeah,
on. And so finally it became
yeah.
so heavy that I was just flat. So I think, to your question, Linda, is really being able to take a look at yourself and say, how am I feeling? Where is
Mhm.
this showing up in my body? How does it do I feel exhausted all the time? Do I feel keyed up all the
Right.
time? And then what thoughts do I have a lot? And what
Mm,
actions or inactions, because inaction is an action as well, are happening for
yeah,
me? And, you know, what's going on there? Because I realized that I was like spending my whole life running. Like I just had no downtime.
yeah.
And I, my natural set point is high energy. However,
Mhm.
you know, you do need to recharge your batteries.
That's
Right.
true.
Yes.
Even if
Yeah.
you're an
Yeah.
extrovert. So really paying attention to those signs, because they were there. I just was choosing not to see
Yeah.
them.
I have
like
a
that.
question for you. Did you physically repel?
I did.
Like, did you?
I did.
And so I just need to know, because I'm somebody who's afraid of heights. I don't know about you guys. But how
I didn't
was
used to
that?
be. The older I get, the more I
Yeah,
am, though. It's kind of
that
funny how that
balance kinda
happens.
goes a little bit.
Yes, it
So how
does.
was that, Joni? Because to me, that's like a physical manifestation that sort of brings it all together,
Yes.
right? It's like
Yes.
doing something even though you're afraid to do it.
Yes.
So how was it?
Yeah. So I myself am not personally afraid of heights. I mean, I also didn't, just have this burning desire to jump off of a building. I
Right? I don't know anybody who would.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So, but I think what really happened for me, which is the first step in the Rappel framework, as I reflected on what is my true purpose in doing this. And that's the key phrasing there. We were just talking about
Love
this
that.
yesterday in the Power Hour that I host every month. And sometimes what we, feel that there's resistance to, or we think we're not good enough, if we think about what is the true purpose behind this. And my true purpose was, okay, this is about my anxiety, but it's about the veterans' anxiety. It's about everyone who's struggling with anxiety.
Bigger.
So if I can do this, if they can go over and experience what they did, I can do this. And this outfit, Over the Edge has done this numerous times before, and they had a really great team. So, the biochemist in me, the scientist in me, you can take the girl out of the scientist, but you can't take the scientist out of the girl. So I'm very analytical by nature. So they did some training with us, and I can't tell you how long I had the harness on, hours. The harness was on before I actually, was doing this.
To get used to it.
And
Yeah.
to get used to it. But I have video clips that I share during my my keynote presentation to workshop of the actual experience and them interacting with me. And in the second phase of the Rappel framework, which is relate, it's about strengthening your emotional intelligence and building meaningful connections. So they were literally walking me through step by step, and I was like, hold blue rope with right hand. I was literally asking for this level of specificity. Now, I wasn't really anxious, but I was like looking for the clarity. And it was really important that this team was trained to respond to that. I mean, they've done this a gazillion times with a lot of people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I had never met any of them before. But I really felt like we had a meaningful connection with each other, because I also wore a purple cape. As you can, the book is black and white, but you can see I'm
Yes.
wearing a cape.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
I love it.
I mean, I
awesome.
didn't know how it was going to go, if there was going to be multiple people, so you could see me. And so as, they've answered a lot of questions of holding this, holding that, flipping this, doing that. And then, I was reasoning with myself, which is the third R of the Rappel framework, that, okay, I'm leaving the roof now, and my support system that's here, and it's all me. And as I was doing that in the video clip, you can hear them say, "Look at you go, you're Superwoman with your cape. You've got this," the reassurance.
That's awesome.
So it
Yeah.
was really an amazing experience. And, I did have a few people down below that were cheering me on, and I can hear them in the video clips, but I could hear none of that when I was doing it. It was like complete silence. It
Oh,
was
Wow.
quiet,
Wow.
and it was just me with me.
Huh.
There was music playing,
That's
great.
and I heard
amazing.
none of that. So,
Very
Wow.
peaceful, it
Yeah.
sounds like, and
Yeah. Yeah. It's important, I think, and Cindy, you probably remember these as well back when, when you were competing. And I know exactly what you're referring to, Joni, is it's how like you get in that bubble. And they talk about that with people, performers, right? Or if you're giving a speech or if you're playing sports, is you tune out everything else around
you're in
you, and you
flow.
really do kind of, you focus in on yourself, and you take those pieces out, which is just incredible. And what a fun experience. I've seen clips of the video and it looks incredible. So so I definitely commend you for doing that. Oh, one of the things I know that you are out there facilitating courageous leadership work across the country. What do you see as some of the biggest blockers to authenticity in women leaders today?
So that's an easy response, but a hard one to take action with, and that is a lack of self-awareness. There's this
Yes.
perception that, by and large, we're all self-aware, but it's actually really research shows it's a very small percentage because, and
Wow.
I myself didn't want to look beneath my own covers, right? It was like,
Huh.
okay, I can look at your stuff, but mine, no. And so
Right.
that's what
Yeah.
we, that's one thing we do, or, we numb out with TV or, food or
Social media.
whatever, emotional eating.
Yeah.
Yes. Or
Yeah.
retail therapy, which there's nothing wrong with any of those things. There's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with eating. There's nothing wrong with shopping. But when you're doing it for the reason to not stay with yourself and what's really happening and going
Yeah.
on. So the self-awareness piece is a big gap, I believe, for not just
Yeah.
women leaders, but especially women leaders. As we work with our male counterparts, our journey is just different. And,
Yeah, that's
I
right.
always tell people it's like turning the Titanic. Society didn't set us up to be in the workforce like we are. Now, there's been a lot of positive progress. However, it's still a different journey. I mean, for me, with my biochemistry background, I was the only woman sometimes in
Oh, I'm sure.
anything. And,
Yeah.
sometimes the male counterparts would be inclusive and cordial, and other times they were looking at you like,
Mhm.
what are you doing here? And,
Yeah.
being able to feel like you have a voice, you can have a voice, and your voice has
Mhm.
value, and you're worthy of contributing as well, just as they are. I have nothing against,
Right.
you know, um,
Yeah.
all people, all humans. But when
Yeah.
you aren't doing that from an intentional place with
Mhm.
awareness, that's when you don't have that meaningful connection that I was talking about. You're actually causing disconnection. Um, because you're
Sure.
disconnected from yourself. So how can you be connected to
Right.
other people if you're not disconnected or if you're not connected to
That makes a
yourself?
lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were just talking about values too. So, how do those values sort of centered or keeping that in mind, how do the values based decisions then support that authenticity, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my two core values are authenticity and gratitude. So if I do
Awesome.
something that makes me feel like I'm out of alignment and being inauthentic, then that's a real paralyzing thing. And I think how do they help, Cindy, is do you know what your core values are?
Yeah.
And
Step
also,
one.
when you
Yeah.
have a change in your life, whether that's personal or professional, that's an opportunity to reevaluate your values.
Mhm.
And the same thing happens inside of organizations. Every company has mission, vision, and values. But does anybody
Right.
working inside of these companies really know what the values are? Maybe they do,
Yeah.
and maybe on the town halls they're talked about, but do they really know what it looks like when someone
Oh,
is,
And are they living
yes,
those?
and are they living those?
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
so
I like that.
informed with me from the 5 years I've spent doing the Dare to Lead work.
Mm.
That was so,
That's
Mhm.
gotta be so powerful.
yes. And so a lot of people don't know what they are, and then they don't reevaluate them.
That
I
is so
was
true.
having a conversation with a lady that I work with who's just the sweetest lady, and she just moved her father into hospice. And
Mm.
we were just having this conversation that, she was sharing with me that it has made her sort of reevaluate what her value,
Absolutely.
because she's seeing what he's going through. And even though he's older, time is fleeting and you just never know.
Yes.
So,
So
um,
true.
that's a lens, I guess, to kind of think through
Yeah.
your values.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
And it's, our values can be um, a firm foundation for us to always go back to and a filter
Mhm.
that we can use to make those hard decisions. You know, like,
Yeah.
do we move him to hospice or not? And, what adjustments do we
Right.
make to our life? And, she's feeling that of ooh, I need to make an adjustment to, perhaps I'm feeling
That's a
a pull to make an
urgency.
adjustment to my values as well.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very true. I wonder too, Joni, do you think that maybe there's probably a correlation between the amount of anxiety and the struggle in that self-awareness? Because oftentimes I'm guessing that some of that anxiety and self-awareness are connected in that if I'm not self-aware and I'm not being authentic to myself, it's creating anxiety for me in those situations. And I probably am not even realizing that that's happening, right? Because I'm not paying attention to myself. I'm maybe not being my authentic self in these situations because I'm playing a part that I think I'm supposed to play.
Right.
And so in turn, it just increases that anxiety in those situations.
Makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. I absolutely 100%. Because we're many times, are you living your life? Are you truly living your life for you? And do you even know what that looks
Mm,
like? Or are you living your life with some notion of there's an expectation that, I'm supposed to be the best at everything? Where did that come from?
right.
Was that messaging that you took on from a teacher or from your parents or from a boss
Yeah.
or whatever? Is that even yours? And that is a
Right.
question I found myself asking, and it's something that I use in my coaching practice is that yours or is it
Yeah.
someone else's?
I love that. I was just talking to a friend the other day, and she said she was telling me her son had been in the financial. That's me. They're Indian, and they live in a very high
Mhm.
pressure society, right? It's very much about success and
Absolutely.
in what you do, and so he had gone into finance. Well, during that period of time, he all of a sudden started having all of these health
Mm.
issues that he was suffering from, and all of this, what it sounds like is probably a lot of anxiety as well in those things. So they went through this long journey to try to figure it out. Well, he stepped away from that role. He started focusing in on himself and health, and she was telling me he is now a car salesman. And she kind of laughed a little bit because I think she thought I was going to be like, oh, a car salesman, glad he found a place. And I said, that is fantastic. Is he happy? She said, he is over the moon
That's
being
the
a car
difference.
salesman. He loves what he's doing, and he's not having any of those health issues that he was having before. So it's funny how our body
Mhm.
manifests
Yes.
that into, if we're not going to listen, our body finds a way to force us to
We hit the
listen through
wall.
different ways,
Yes,
right?
yes. There's a book, and I can't remember the name of the author, but The Body Keeps the Score is a book
I
that's
like
out
that.
there.
Yeah.
It really does. You have to pay attention and
Yeah.
listen. As I was talking about, earlier, being aware of what is that? What is this anxiety? Or what is this racing heart? What is this telling me? Because a racing
Right.
heart could also mean, oh, I'm excited and like I'm really
Right.
happy.
Yeah.
Or a
Right.
racing heart
Yeah.
could mean I'm terrified, to do this.
Right.
And
So true.
yeah. And one of the questions that I asked in my Rappel Breakthrough to a Better You keynote is, what is something terrifying and exhilarating that you've done? And
Mm.
so the difference there is the terrifying is when you are letting the anxiety run you, and the
Mm.
exhilarating is when you are doing so from an emotionally intelligent place. You
I
you
like
can still
that.
be afraid
Yeah.
and acknowledge that, but
Yeah.
you're not letting it run you, right?
Roll you.
You
Yeah. I
know,
really like that.
I was listening to, we listen to Mel Robbins a lot. Linda and I love Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
And so she was talking about something similar to what you're saying, Joni, where she said, she had all this fear and she decided to turn that fear into excitement. So instead
Mm.
of saying, oh, I'm fearful
Mhm.
of going out on stage in front of 200,000 people or however many it was, um, to I'm excited. My heart is racing because I'm excited.
Mhm.
So it was a reframe
Yeah.
in her mind that helped her to sort of reset and not feel quite as anxious
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
feel a bit more like lean into the excitement
Right.
side of things.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
usually tell folks that, women especially, that anytime you feel that means you're passionate about something, or it's your intuition
Mhm.
guiding you. And when you're trying to,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
like, no, when people say, well, my gut says, and it's like, your gut knows.
Listen to
That's
gut.
your higher self.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
Listen
sitting
to your
there.
gut.
And then there's all this noise that says, but you should do this because you've taken on, this belief or that belief. Just like I
yeah,
love the example of the car sales and the finance. I mean, there's so much judgment about being a car salesman. Well, who cares? If
exactly.
you're happy
Right,
and
exactly.
it's bringing you joy and
Right.
you're healthy, then do it.
That's it. Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. I totally agree. I'm curious. So how did Brené Brown find you and pluck you up to really bring you into this Dare to Lead certification?
Yeah. So when I moved to Houston, actually, let me just go back. Before I moved to Houston, I was working with a therapist, and she
Okay.
told me about the Power of Vulnerability TED Talk. And this was about 2010 when it came out.
Yeah.
And so then it's Brené Brown. And, that really was life changing for me watching that video and realizing that, I
Yeah.
can talk about my things and I can be vulnerable and not just expect that everyone else
Yes.
is going to and take on that stuff. So fast forward to when I moved to Houston in 2013, and I was like, Renee is
Mm-hmm.
here. Like, how do I get involved with her work? So as
Yeah.
I got plugged into the training and coaching and facilitation community here, I met
Mm-hmm.
a woman who was doing her Daring Way work. And
Okay.
at the time, she didn't even have Dare to Lead yet. So to get involved with the Daring Way work, that was more like social work, the therapy counseling
Mhm.
realm, which was not me
Right.
necessarily. So when she came out with Dare to Lead, and it was really meant for to be brought inside of companies and organizations, I was like, oh, okay. So I really
Yeah.
had the training,
Yeah.
facilitation, and coaching arm of things. So
I
then
like
I
it.
reached out and applied, and that was in like 2019 and actually 2018, because I went through the certification in June of 2019 and then did
Okay.
my very first workshop in January of 2020.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What I love about you, about Mel, about Brene is there's a realness and an authenticity about all of you in the way that you approach your work and approach it that makes it easier as a woman to make it relatable with someone who you're like, she gets me. It's not someone who is necessarily like, there are a lot of other amazing women that are out there speaking, but oftentimes it's very unrelatable. So it's hard to make the connection, and so therefore you're like, I really can't take anything away from this.
Hmm.
But I love what all three of you are doing is really kind of bringing that level of authenticity and realism to it, and it's just real talk, right? There's no BS about it. It's all just real talk, and there's a vulnerability to the work that you're doing that I so appreciate.
Well, thank you. And I just feel honored to be in the same sentence as Brene Brown and Mel Robbins. It's amazing. Because I
Pretty
No,
love
awesome.
them and their work as
absolutely.
well. And
Yeah,
the thing of it is that you mentioned, three names, but there's more, and there needs to be more because there isn't
it
enough of this
does.
kind of conversation. And I'm grateful for this podcast that you all are doing because it's so important. And the more we talk about this and normalize
Yeah.
this realness and being raw
Yeah,
and, don't judge others and be who you
Yeah.
are.
You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a
Yeah.
difference and it
exactly.
allows someone who has the pressure of being from a culture that says, I have to, be at this level or have this type of job,
Yes.
but it's not in alignment. And then,
Yeah.
to do something that really is. And, that was my story as well. One of the steps I took to resist entrepreneurship was I did a clinical training role here in the Texas Medical Center is amazing. It's amazing. And I
Uh-huh.
took a clinical training role there for 6 months. And really, it seemed logical at the time to me because my mother had just been diagnosed with breast cancer. I had just left
Mhm.
working in women's health and breast cancer. And so, um, I took some time off to help manage her care. And I was
Sure.
really going to start my company then. but I'm like, new city, I'm not connected. I had 1,000,001 excuses.
Yeah.
So I got recruited off of
Right.
LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, take clinical and training and marry them together. This is going to be wonderful. And it
Yeah.
was for about 6 weeks. And then it was like,
Boy,
this is not
this is
it.
not.
However,
Yeah.
I said I committed to do this. I interviewed for it. I committed to do it. So I had this messaging about, you make a commitment, you got to follow it through.
Right. Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that was another breakthrough moment, because I was miserable for about 6 months, and some people do that for 6 years.
They do.
Right.
You're
Right.
Yeah.
Or even
Absolutely.
longer.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hey, Joni, you shared with us a little bit about the Rappel, the R in Rappel. Anything else that you would like to share with our community as we're kind of wrapping things up about that as a metaphor, and kind of some powerful sort of key takeaways that we can share?
Sure. I think it is realizing that, a breakthrough can happen anytime, and that most oftentimes when you're really going to feel it and know that it's happening is when you're taking steps into your discomfort zone. A lot of
Mhm.
people say, take a step out of your comfort zone, and people are like, mm-mm, not doing that. Like, I'm not jumping off of a building. Like,
Right.
I'm not gonna
No matter how
do
long I'm harnessed in there. Yeah.
right. I'm not going to speak up in this meeting because, I'm just lucky to
Yeah.
have a seat at the table, as a woman leader, or I'm not
Mhm.
going to change careers, whatever it is. And so it's taking those steps into your discomfort zone that are really what are going to lead to the breakthrough. And it's really those 5 steps that allow for that process: the reflecting, the relating, the reasoning, the recognizing, and the rejoicing, to celebrate the whole process. I mean, am I, super proud of the fact that, like, I, sort of got myself off the path and took this clinical training job? Well, no, it doesn't matter about the pride. It really put me on the path that I was supposed to go. And I was able to garner some strength from that, even though it was extremely uncomfortable. And I'd never had strep throat in my life, and I got strep throat. All the things that you were talking about, the physical things
Right.
start showing up.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
taught me more about myself, and that's what I've chosen to share with other people, to help them to be able to discover that about themselves as well.
That's
I
awesome.
really like that. What value do you refuse to compromise on?
Hmm, that's a good question. Let me think about that. I mean, I feel like it's gonna sound cliche, but it's authenticity. Now, now it's
Yeah.
authenticity.
Yeah. 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 I like that. No, I think that's good. And when you can find that place, I think, that is something. And once you find who that authentic self is, you don't ever want to compromise
Right,
on that
because I
for
had the
sure.
experience
Yeah.
of not living into that, and I know how
Yeah.
that feels
Absolutely.
as well. And yes, it served me for a period of my life, but it no longer is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
And it
like
takes
that.
those steps sometimes to recognize
It
what
does.
that should feel like.
Yes.
Yeah,
What
it really
what
does. No,
authenticity
for
is.
sure.
We
I totally
appreciate
agree.
you sharing all your story with us, and
Oh gosh,
the
yeah.
courage that you've had throughout your journey, and it really aligns with what we try to do on the podcast. So
Well, thank
thank
you
you
for
Yeah.
having me,
for coming on
and
with
thank you
us.
for having this
Oh,
platform
for
for
sure.
guests to share their stories.
Oh, no, it's our pleasure for sure. And if you want to dive deeper, definitely check out Joni's book, Rappel, Breakthrough to a Better You. You can find it wherever books are sold. And don't forget to follow her on LinkedIn and Instagram. We're going to put all of Joni's links out there so that you can connect with her as well. She is incredible. I've been following her, and I think you will enjoy spending time with Joni as much as I know Cindy and I have definitely enjoyed spending time with you today. So thank you again so much for being here on the podcast with us.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
and thanks to our community too.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, listeners.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we'll see you all next time on our next episode of the Her Resources podcast. And in the meantime, just make sure you're out there living your authentic and best self. So,
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the HR Her Resources podcast. We're so happy to have you with us on this journey. Music and production by Logan Misigatis of LJM Productions. We'd also like to thank our intern, Lauren Banas, for creating our logo and supporting our social media postings. If you'd like to connect with Logan or Lauren, you can find their information in the show notes. If you found value in our discussion and think someone else might as well, please follow, subscribe to our LinkedIn, and share with a friend. Until our next episode, please take care and continue to support one another.